Sydney Sweeney didn't just have a bad year, she watched a version of herself that took years to build unravel in a matter of months. And what made it so unsettling wasn't one explosive scandal or a single career-ending mistake. It was something quieter, slower, and far more damaging. A strategy that used to protect her suddenly stopped working, and when it did, everything else collapsed at once. For a long time, Sydney's rise felt almost surgical. Every role seemed chosen with intention. When euphoria dropped, she didn't just stand out, she lodged herself into the culture. Her portrayal of Cassie was raw, volatile, emotionally fearless. Viewers didn't just watch her, they felt her. Scene after scene, she delivered intensity that made people lean forward instead of scrolling away. She wasn't just another breakout actress. She felt like a reflection of a generation trying to figure itself out in real time. That image carried forward. Projects like The White Lotus reinforced the idea that she wasn't relying on surface appeal alone. She was leaning into characters shaped by power, class, vulnerability, and identity. To a Gen Z audience raised on hyper-awareness, that mattered. It created trust. She looked socially plugged in, culturally aligned, and self-aware enough to navigate modern Hollywood without losing credibility. For a while, that trust was her strongest asset, which is why the first cracks caught people off guard. Back in 2021, photos from her mother's birthday party surfaced online. Red hats, a guest wearing a Blue Lives Matter shirt. The reaction was instant and confused. It didn't match the character she played or the values people thought she represented. Sydney responded quickly, calling it a misunderstanding, asking people not to jump to conclusions, and wishing her mom a happy birthday. The explanation was vague, but it worked. The outrage cooled. The story faded, and unintentionally a lesson was learned. Silence paired with just enough ambiguity could make problems disappear. That approach became part of her playbook. When anyone but you entered the picture, the same tactic showed up again, only this time it came with massive upside. Off-screen chemistry rumors between Sydney and her co-star started spreading fast. Lingering touches, close body language, moments that felt just a little too intimate to be accidental. Fans clocked it immediately. The internet did what it always does, speculated wildly. And Sydney said nothing. She didn't confirm, she didn't deny. She let the noise breathe. The rumors fueled curiosity, drove clicks, and made people feel like they had to see that chemistry play out on screen. Even when real-life relationships ended around the film's release, she stayed silent. That silence protected her from direct accusations while keeping the conversation alive. And the strategy worked. The movie exploded. The rom-com genre felt revived. Sydney came out looking untouchable. But what works once doesn't always work forever. As time went on, the controversies started stacking up faster than the silence could contain them. A novelty product launch sparked backlash for crossing ethical lines. A poorly received soap campaign reignited criticism, and this time, people weren't laughing it off. The shock value stopped feeling clever and started feeling careless. What once looked like empowerment began to resemble something older, something less intentional. Instead of reclaiming control, the image invited objectification in ways that didn't feel modern anymore. The silence that once felt strategic now felt dismissive. Then came the American Eagle jeans campaign, and everything changed. The messaging around traits being passed down immediately triggered alarm bells. Viewers called it tone-deaf at best and deeply coded at worst. Accusations spread fast, and the backlash moved quicker than anything she'd faced before. Once again, Sydney leaned into silence, seemingly expecting the noise to burn itself out. It didn't. American Eagle quietly pulled away and replaced her with Martha Stewart. No statement, no drama. Just a clean swap that sent a brutal message without saying a single word. Brands weren't standing firmly behind her anymore. Fans who once felt seen felt brushed off. And for the first time, the silence wasn't protecting her. It was amplifying suspicion. As the fallout continued, public records revealing her voter registration resurfaced old doubts. Suddenly, earlier rumors didn't seem so far-fetched. Praise started coming from corners she'd never publicly aligned with before, and that only made things more uncomfortable. Commentary pieces began framing her as a symbol in a much larger culture war. What made it worse was how she responded when given an easy chance to shut it all down. She didn't apologize. She didn't clarify. She said that when she wants to speak on something she cares about, she will. To many, that line landed like a door closing. What people were waiting for wasn't complicated. A simple statement distancing herself from hateful ideologies could have cooled everything instantly. Instead, the distance felt deliberate. And once fans start questioning your intent, trust erodes fast. The damage didn't stay online. It showed up where it hurts most in Hollywood, the box office. In a single year, Sydney appeared in multiple films that failed to connect with audiences in any meaningful way. Christie, a passion project she produced herself, was released in over 2,000 theaters and barely crossed $1 million opening weekend. Americano struggled even more. Eden followed the same pattern. Big budgets, wide releases, shockingly small returns. When Christie underperformed, Sydney insisted the film wasn't about numbers, but impact. She said helping even one woman would make it worthwhile. Some respected that, others didn't. Actress Ruby Rose publicly pushed back, calling her a grifter and accusing her of ruining a powerful story. That statement spread fast and turned the project into a full-blown PR nightmare. At that point, it was impossible to pretend the backlash wasn't affecting her career in real ways. Gen Z audiences are extremely online and hyper-aware. Many openly admitted they didn't want to support someone who turned them off, while others avoided the films entirely to escape judgment from friends. Either way, the numbers spoke loud. The controversy had consequences. Behind the scenes, things reportedly grew even colder. During the American Eagle fallout, Sydney was filming Euphoria Season 3 alongside Zendaya. Insiders began claiming the dynamic shifted fast. Allegations surfaced that Zendaya avoided joint press moments, interview seating, and even shared stages. Nothing was officially confirmed, but the optics were rough. In Hollywood, silence from peers can speak louder than public statements. The history made it harder to ignore. These were two actresses who grew up together on set, once seen as genuinely close. Now, any association risked being read as silent approval of controversies Zendaya had never aligned with. Even one shared photo could spark headlines she didn't want. Quiet distance was the safest option. Fans also resurfaced old online behavior, including alleged likes involving Tom Holland that suddenly felt awkward again. Add in recent dating rumors linking Sydney to Scooter Braun, and the narrative only grew messier. To many viewers, these weren't isolated incidents anymore. They looked like signals. Taken together, it stopped feeling like manufactured chaos and started feeling like unfiltered reality. And that's why people are questioning whether there's a real path back to the career she once had. If there's a final lifeline, it's Euphoria Season 3. That might be the last moment where she's closely tied to strong writing, a respected cast, and the version of herself audiences originally believed in. A comeback isn't impossible, but it won't come from silence. It would take accountability, clarity, and a genuine reset. The era where ambiguity protected her is over. And now the question is unavoidable. Is this just a rough chapter or the moment Hollywood quietly moved on?